All right, we're back. And it's COMP397, and it's fall 2015, lesson 1, part 2, right? And we just talked about we give you a little bit of a preview of what we're going to build for our template today. And again, we talked about Create.js as being our main API library, TypeScript as being our enabler, if you will, to enable us to build this crazy app, these apps that we're going to build. One thing I'd like you to do is take a look at one of the, just to switch gears a little bit, let's take a look at one of the games I made a couple years ago. Right now, it took a little bit of effort to do, and it's called Starbase 12. I put it up on Heroku. I'm a Star Trek fan, right? Starbase12.heroku.com. I kind of I threw this together in a two and a bit weeks. I would say it'll take me some time to put it together. So let's see what it looks like. Now, by no means is it perfect, but it encompasses all the things I want to kind of do with you guys from when we're together, right? So I made the start screen in Blender. So I kind of actually had three models, three-dimensional models. One of them was the Starbase. Another one was the kind of a Constellation type class ship, the Enterprise equivalent. And of course, my Klingon D5 cruiser, right? Which is on the other side here. I kind of colored them a little bit. I made this a little bit green. So my player's green, my enemy's red, and my Starbase is blue, right? Or kind of purple, right? So it has all the elements. This is my start screen. If you notice, I'm still running live. You guys can try this out as well at 50-something frames per second, right? Stole the music from Star Trek Insurrection, right? It's got a bit of instructions, an instruction screen. And there's the mission and so on. I better start it because YouTube's going to kill me when I do this, right? So if I go play.
Entering sector 0.1.
And this is me, right? So I've got my Klingons firing at me. I've got my ship. And right? With a little bit of particle effects. Right? So again, two-dimensional game. Right? My plan is really to save the Starbase. You know, stop the Starbase from happening. Right now it's easy because it's only one. Now my Klingon doesn't move. Right, so this is something that I could definitely have added or changed. My Klingon moving and changing position. Right, I can dock with my Starbase. Right, so I can, you know, that kind of thing. Right? Now there's two of them. So it's almost like a survival game, right? Now see, this guy's going to keep firing at my Starbase until it kills it, right? I have 3 shield faces. And I got the inspiration for this. I'm not going to keep playing it, but I got the inspiration for this off of an old game that we used to play in the arcade, which was a Star Trek game, actually, that they came up with, right? So, I mean, this would have been my equivalent to my final project. It has like kind of multiple levels. I have a start screen and a, you know, kind of a play screen. To show you the end screen, sorry, that's one thing I didn't do. Spacebar. And you have to point at what you're firing. So.
Entering sector 0.
So watch it. So here's my cursor, and if I'm pointing here, and then. And you've got to be within a 30-degree arc of your front end, right? So I made rules, right? I made rules, right? It'd be too easy otherwise. Come on. So I'm going to die now. So my it turns colors. I'm getting hit. My hull, boom, 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 and then finally. Right? Particle physics, right? So I did the particle effects. This is all done with it's HTML5 compliant. So this is all, there's no flash or anything like that, right? So, come on, you got the sad music, right? Come on, right? Give me some props. Again, this took me 2 weeks to make, man. So it wasn't like it's, you know. But at the end of the day, I hosted it on Heroku, which is what I want you to do at the end. I know that some people are familiar with Heroku. They've done it before, right? So now we're hosting it online. You can also host it with on Azure or another cloud service or a service of your own. But the idea here is that when we create our our game for the end, our project for the final project, it's got to be live. It's got to be a unique game of your own. Now, there's going to be a project that I'm going to give you that's going to be a side scroller. And this is what happens every year, right? Or every semester, pretty much. I'm going to give you the side scroller stuff, and then a lot of you are going to modify it, the side scroller, to make that your final project and make it second level and third level and fourth level. Boring. But it's going to happen because some of you can't handle it. It's a lot of work to get to what I just did. This is a brand new game that I haven't made it from a template or anything like that, right? So is it complete by far? No, it's not complete. There's so many things I could do to make it to the next level. This is version 4 of my game, right? So I could have continued to work on it. I took it as far as I wanted to at the time, but I don't want to take it any further than that. For now, anyway. Maybe we'll do it in Unity. Maybe I'll rebuild the game in Unity and make it a 3D game, right? Anyways, at the end of the day, that's what the kind of games you can, I want you to think about making games like that. Hey, so what about this MAME thing? What is this MAME thing that I'm talking about? Because you can do kind of like this, some simulations, and I'll pull up MAME with the Mac. I'm seeing if it's still here, if I didn't destroy it. I did, it's here. So what is MAME anyway? If I look at MAME, if you want to kind of look at some old ROMs that used to exist on the Sega, the old systems back in the day, you can download MAME, which is this emulator for these old ROMs, right? Which is what I did to kind of, this is the kind of game I want to create, but I want to make it my own, right? So what is this game anyway that I made? Let me show you what it came from. So I'm going to kick off MAME. And of course, Star Trek is there, right? So let's take a look and see what it looks like, right? All right. So let's see if I can do this thing.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
I did not make this game. This is the game I modeled, right? So. Right? It's a fun game, right?
Entering sector 1.2.
Basically, yeah. Neat little effect. Right?
Entering sector 1.3.
It's using full 3D. I got it. It's using full 3D, but the game is fun. And this is actually done with paddles in the arcade. It's called paddle system, right? As opposed to the way it was done before. All right, let me die. Okay, I gotta get the shields. I dock, right? Warp time added, photon added, shield added, and I can warp too, right? See, I can place my photons like that. How it's done. And then, just like I did in the other game, simulation complete, right? The idea with MAME is that you can launch any kind of old games, like things like Gauntlet, all kinds of the old games that used to exist in the arcade, anything you want. It's a great thing to kind of take a look at a game, check it out, see if you like the style of it, and then try and adopt some pieces of it for your own game. That's the idea with MAME. Okay, and that's where I get the inspiration from mine. Mine by far is not like that. I have to work on it a lot more, many more weeks to get it to where it's got to be. And you know, it was just I captured one little piece of it, which is not exactly the same. I wanted to make it different, a little bit newer, and that's where I got it with. Where I got it to with TypeScript. But it was an inspiration, like I said. Okay, so what are you going to make? I want you to think about it. You can't just make a game from a vacuum. It's very hard, right? To kind of come up with a new game. There are some people that have come up with an original game by the end. But typically what you want to try and do is start thinking about it now. Don't think about it week 10, right? There's just too much to do, right? And start sketching it out. Start thinking about, if I'm going to make a game, I have to be able to complete it in 4 weeks. You're going to see the workflow and how much work is involved to kind of get this thing going. And my only ask is don't let yourself into a black hole, right? Because sometimes it can happen. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Because like I say, and I say that a lot of times, right? because when we write an application, sometimes we write ourselves into a corner we can't finish, right? Okay, let's continue with this little setup of our game. One thing I want to try and do here is to share this with you is create a Git repository that's local, right? So I know that I have I'm here on the Mac, but it doesn't matter whether you're on the Mac or Windows. Like I said, I've got my little folder, and I'm going to pull up my terminal window. In your case, it would be command prompt, right? And what I want to do is I want to kind of go to that, that folder. There I am. When I set up a Git repository, I can do it in two ways. I can use Visual Studio to create a repository, and we've done that before. Or you can also use GitHub on the console, right? Or Git on the console. So that's what I'm going to do right here, so I can share it with you. So I'm going to say Git init. So I'm initializing a Git repository, right? The next thing is I'm going to say Git add dot. And what that means is it's going to add everything that I just had into my Git repository, right? The next piece that I got to do is I got to say Git commit -m, and I'll say my initial commit, right? And that adds all my files. So I'm going to share this up on GitHub with you, right? And then I've got to have my GitHub repository kind of created ahead of time. So let's go and do that. I'm going to go back into GitHub. And I'm going to go into, I've got my own, and I'm going to go into Centennial College here. Here's Centennial College. Let's just go into something. I'm going to make a new repository in Centennial College. Here it is, right? And we're going to call this thing COMP397. I'll say create.js demo. Because I need to make this like this, because otherwise what's going to happen is we won't learn how I do everything. You'll just see me do it one time, and then you want to understand the piece parts and how to build everything together, right? So we'll do that like this. That's what it's going to be. I've created my Git repository, and now Git gives us this really cool little this little script that I can use right on in my terminal. So let's copy and paste these in. Right, there it is. Right, so that little script is right here. So I'm adding my remote, and I'll just do the other one. Git push -u origin master. And what it's going to do is going to push up my Git repository all the way to GitHub. And now if I refresh, you guys have access to it. There it is. So you can go ahead and download this one. Now it's under Centennial College, COMP397, create.js demo. Go. You can grab it. So you don't have to be on the different pages in there. And then I'll just update it all the time. Right? So if you want to start with where I am, you can always, the other thing you can do is fork me on GitHub, right? If you want to fork the repository, want to make a change, you can upload it and all that kind of stuff as well. But let me finish it before you fork it. Okay, so but if you want to start off and you want to build it with me, and this is a good chance to do it, download this now, and then we can continue to do it. I'll wait for you guys to get caught up. That's okay. Let me know when you guys are ready, and then I'll continue. Right? So we're on the same page. There are some moving pieces to this whole puzzle, right? So at least you'll have where I'm at. We're not quite ready yet to go to the next level, right? I still need to move some things around. So Git is a really important skill. It's a really cool thing to understand. Git, GitHub, version control, or what you want to call it, revision control. It's super important to learn about. And you can sign up for free. You can certainly download your free repo and all that stuff, private repo. I'm using all public repos here, but I certainly could make private repos so that only you guys are available. I can add you into my team, my Centennial College team, so that way you guys are all collaborators and developers and all that kind of stuff. We don't have to go there right now. You guys got it? Let me know when you guys are ready. You guys ready in the back over there? Huh? Okay, you're ready. You're waiting. I'll wait for you guys a little bit. You got it already? Yes. Okay, no problem. Yeah, sure. No problem. You can watch. Okay, can I continue now? Are you guys ready? You do need to sign up for GitHub, yeah. If you don't sign up for GitHub, you just need to download. That's all you do. Okay, so here I am with this thing. I'm going to go back into Visual Studio Code here, and I'm going to continue to heavily modify this thing. Now I'm going to use this thing as a guide because we already have this up, right? And you know, I don't have to reinvent the wheel here if I don't have to. And one of the things that I want to look at is some of the structure. So I'm kind of similar to what I've got because even between sessions I make my own structure. This was looking good, and then next semester I had something slightly different than the last time because I've learned something, right? I have to say that we learn something every semester that we're, if I teach something as a professor, I made a tweak from last semester, I included it the next semester. So it's almost like an evolving course, living course, right? So let me do the same thing here with this. So I've got these lines of code. I'm going to go scripts, lib, and easel.js, and so on. Instead of me typing this out here and what I could, I'm just going to include these scripts. It's exactly the same path on the other side. So I'm just going to copy and paste here. Now, let's see if it's actually going to work. Actually, that did not work. No. That's what happens. See, it doesn't go from my VM, right? It doesn't go back to here sometimes. Cool. All right. So that worked. So what I'm doing is I'm creating script files that connect I'm going into my scripts folder here, and I'm accessing my libs folder, my lib folder, and I've got easel, tween, sound, and preload. Okay. I also need to access my game.js file. Even though my game says game.ts, because I want to use TypeScript, right? I need to access, in order for me to use these libraries, I need to have type definition libraries in order for me to use them. It's almost like they describe what easel, tween, and sound, and preload are made of, right? Because TypeScript doesn't understand these foreign libraries, doesn't know what they are. So in order for me to understand them, I have to go and download these type definition libraries. Now, unfortunately, you cannot get them from Create.js, right? You have to get them from something called Definitely Typed. So let me show you what that is. Definitely Typed is a repo that's been maintained by Boris Hankoff, actually. But what they have here is all the different type definition libraries that are available for most JavaScript APIs, the most popular ones that are out there. Like, as you can see, Angular is all there. They have, of course, Bootstrap and different other libraries that are available here, right? Now, I don't need all of them, and I can't, for me to download this zip file, this whole repo, or even clone it, is crazy. It's like hundreds of, look at what it says here, thousands of files, more than 1,000 files here. 194 entries were omitted the last time. Now, the one thing that you can do is on the Visual Studio side, which saves us a lot of time, is I can use NuGet to actually find the libraries for me. Right? So if I was going to go to Solution Explorer on Visual Studio, this is how I did it here. These typings, right here, I need createjs.lib. And so I'm cheating a little bit because I know which ones I need. createjs.lib.d.ts, which actually exists, and easel.js.d.ts. And then I don't need jQuery, because I'm not going to do that right now. My preload.js, my sound.js, my tween.js, my web audio API, and my WebRTC. Those are all the ones that I need, and they're all type definition libraries for TypeScript. This is just part of the setup, right? Okay, so how do I get those? So I'm going to go start off with Create.js. So I kind of scroll down in this long list of libraries, and I can also do a find, right? But I can look and see where this thing exists, and it's down here. I just want to show you the first one, and then I'll do a find. So there's my Create.js lib, right? Now, if you notice, it says 9 months ago, because that's sometimes it's updated one time, and there it is, right? So there's a couple ways I could do this. I could download this file, right? This specific one, right? So if I go actually in here, if I click on raw, right? I could copy everything in here, raw, and create my own file. I could do that, right? It says open this file on GitHub desktop. That's one thing I could do as well, right? Or this is the other thing I can try and do. I can try and right-click and save link as. That's not going to work. Don't try and do that from GitHub. It will not work, right? So so the easiest thing to do is the first thing I was telling you is you can certainly download the entire type definition library and just pick the ones you need and delete the rest. So we almost have it as a little download, right? I don't need to have it all, right? Because there's like it says, it's 1,000 files or something like that, right? But even though the library is so small because it's just type definitions, it's not big, right? So let's do that. So download the zip file. I'm going to put this in the same libraries here, right? And save. And that's it. It's done, right? So instead of me having to download and copy and paste and figure it all out, forget it, right? I'm going to unzip it. And now I've got my definitely type libraries all in here alongside with everything else. Now I've got to put these in their proper places because I've got to go into my this list over here where I have my on my desktop where I have my example files, and I'm going to go into my scripts folder. And what I want to try to create is this another kind of file that I'm going to hold all my scripts in. Right now, in my libraries, I have game.ts. Hey, you know what? That's wrong. Game.ts is not a library. It's a core file that I'm going to be using. So that's an issue. So I need a couple more folders in here. One of them is going to be a new folder. So again, I'm going to create a new folder in here. And we're going to call this core, right? I want my core folder to be inside my script folder. And my core folder is going to house my game.ts file, right? That's all it's going to happen. So there's my game.ts file. So all my core game files, I'm going to put in there. I'm just organizing myself. That's all I'm doing, right? You can do it any way you like, right? Typically what Microsoft does is it creates another folder called typings, okay? And if you notice here, it's done that, typings with a lowercase t. So let's do that just to match up with what we have. So I'm going to create a new typings folder. So I'm going to just double click in here, new folder, typings. And this is where all of my type definition files that describe my easel.js and preload and all that stuff's going to be in. So let's go to my type definition library, definitely typed, and scroll down to see my create.js library, right? So there it is. I missed it. There it is, create.js lib. And I'm going to take a copy of that and go into my typings and paste. Okay, so that's my create.js.lib.d.ts. And I need to include a reference to that. That's what I need to include, not the whole file, but a reference with a triple // That's what it looks like inside my files. Okay, the triple / is just a reference to the library so that TypeScript knows where to look to give you the type definitions to do the troubleshooting, right? Otherwise, it doesn't know how to find them. Okay, so I need that. I need my easel.js. So let's go and see if we can find easel. And again, this is just in the list, right? And then I'll update GitHub for you in a second. So here's my easel.js, right? So I'm going to take this, copy it, and paste. I know this is a little bit of setup, and you guys are, you know, tearing your hair out when you're looking at this, but this is what's required if we're going to do our the stuff you're asking me to do. Easel.js, let me just make sure I'll do this in order here. And then jQuery I don't care about. Preload and sound, so that's in order. So here's preload and sound. And then I'll update it for you so that you don't go crazy. All right, and you can see like there's tons and tons of type definition libraries here, which I like, but again, I think this needs to be reorganized in the future. And I think it's one thing that it's amazing is that they allow that Microsoft that's how they run things when it comes to these type definition libraries. And they're the same ones in NuGet. NuGet has the exact same ones. And here's sound. So again, it's a bit of a, you know, why do you watch in this particular case, but you'll see that after we do this kind of thing the first time, then it won't be as bad. Okay, so there's sound. I got almost all of them. I'm missing a couple more, and these are the new ones that have just came out. All right, Tween. I've got to grab Tween. I forgot about Tween.js. And there it is. Tween. There it is. Tween.js. Yes, that's the one. So there's two. I'll grab this Tween.js and put it in there as well. And there's a couple more web audio API and WebRTC. So that's just near the bottom. Web audio API. And I got to be careful what I grab because I don't want something that's incompatible. So it's wa.d.ts, right? This one. Copy and paste, and WebRTC, which is, make sure I have that one too. Okay. And which one am I grabbing here? Just make sure it's the right one. I have both. I wonder if I even use those. Bear with me, gentlemen and lady, as we do this. Yeah, media stream and the RTC peer connection.d.ts. Yep. I thought that was the case. Okay. So both of those things as well. And once I have those, once I've created the files, these both those files, then I should be able to be fine. Copy, paste, and copy, paste. Okay, so those are all the type definition libraries. Okay, now I got to link all that in my typings, all this stuff. I got to link it into my index.html and my game.ts. Almost there. We're getting there. I know you guys are, don't flip out yet, right? Sounds like a lot of setup, but this is what happens when we want to make it 100% HTML5 compliant.
In case you just copy paste the stuff that you got.
I will.
Okay.
I will do that, right? So here, nothing changes. The only thing that's going to change is my core file. So remember, I'm also going to have my, I'll call it my game scripts. That I will definitely have in there. So I got to add that in. And in my game scripts, if you notice, going back to my index.html here, I'm just going to unpin this for a second to make it easy. I have this, right, which is exactly the same. I put it into core, so that should be fine as well. So I'm going to copy this one, and then go in here and paste it in. There we go. So that's my core script, and it goes from scripts to core. And I'm looking at my game and it says JS because remember it's going to be translated eventually when I come into that, right? Now, here's where we get funky. So this is complete. My index.html is good. I don't need to do anything else with that. I definitely have to modify my game.css file. And the reason for that is because I want to be able to see my canvas, because right now you can't see my canvas at all. So what's a simple way to add that in? Well, I've got to target my canvas element. Let's just type this in, right? And when I target my canvas element, this is all canvas elements I'm targeting. I want to kind of put a border, right? That's a 1 pixel solid black, right? If I can type black, that's going to go kind of around it for now, right? So at least if I have a border that's 1 pixel solid black, I'm good, right? Now, even if I run this thing the way it is, if I was to go to my file here and run my index.html by double-clicking, right? I should get the border. This is what I'm getting right now. You should also have this because it's just a canvas. I'm showing you my canvas right now. It doesn't do anything yet because there isn't anything I'm loading right now, okay? But this is what I got so far. And you can, of course, double-click because it's just an index file. It's just an HTML file that I'm making run for the very first time, right? Okay, cool. So I've got my scripts, I've got my index, and now I've got to incorporate all this stuff in there. It's going to happen, well, where? Well, it's going to be in my game.ts file. So here it is. I'm just going to go back in here. Here's my game.ts file. And this is where I need my references, okay? Now, I could certainly type them out, but they're all these, right? And I'm sorry, but I don't feel like typing all this stuff out again. And I don't need all of it. I don't need my stats yet. And also I'll erase. I'll rather drag and drop and erase than actually do this. Now, in Visual Studio, you just literally drag and drop into Visual Studio, and it's done. Like, there is no me typing it in. That's the beautiful thing about Visual Studio. Visual Studio Code, unfortunately, there's no dragging and dropping. So I'm just going to paste it in there and see what I got. Now, there's some stuff in here that I need to get rid of, right? And don't worry about the path for a second. It's going to go away. But one of the things that I need to get rid of is my stats doesn't exist. So this is gone, right? That's one thing that's going to go. I don't have typing for my jQuery or my promise, anything like this. These two files are going to go. There we go. Files are done. Okay, so I'm going to ignore those errors for a second, just because if you notice what it says, it says file, users, Thomas, desktop, blah, 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 scripts, typing, ScrapeJS does not found. That's bad. So maybe I've got a bit of a, did I make something different than before? Scripts?
Yeah, an extra folder there.
For myself?
all the typings are in separate folders as well as file name.
Oh yeah,
The typings in there are non-folders.
that's okay. We can fix that. So we can just get rid of it. Now there might be a problem with some of these files, if that's the truth. Yeah. Oh well, I'm gonna have to fix them. No, you'll see what I'm talking about. No, this is right. Sorry. We need to get rid of this folder because that, or I can make the, you know what, the easiest thing for me to do is make the folders.
Yeah.
Because otherwise what's going to happen is it's going to be a pain in the ass. So create just lib. What's a quick and dirty way to do it? I think I'm just going to copy the folders back in. So sorry guys. So I'm going to do one of these. Delete, right? And go back over here. But that's what you would have done. You would have built that up. I'm just showing you how to do this. For now, for the typings, I'm going to go into my Solution Explorer. And again, I've got this stuff already. So I'm going to grab all the typings that are in here. So this one. And let's see if I can, if it'll allow me to copy, cross-copy and paste, or also have to go into the actual folder and do that. I may have to go into the folder. So I'm just going to copy all this stuff like this. Copy. Let's see if this works. No. Well, it's okay because you know what? I know where the folder exists. That's the great thing, right? So it exists in my my sandbox, right? So I'm going to go kind of. This is the stuff we have to do when we first set up, boys and girl, right? Otherwise, what ends up happening is you don't understand how this all works, right? So, and this is why I'm saying, this is why, going back to that, you kind of threw me off because I was going to just use Visual Studio because it's much faster. But I don't mind doing it this way. This is a great learning for everybody. It just, I got to make sure I know where the hell I put my my documents. Here it is, under Sandbox. And it's COMP397, Create JS boilerplates. And it's under let's grab the actual files and move them across this way. Yes. Huh? Now, one thing I need to do is I need to get rid of the stuff that I don't need because I don't need this one for now. And I can always get it back. So this, you know, and then I'll share it with you in a second. I don't need stats for now either. And I don't need the, that's about it. Okay. Now let's see why this is complaining, huh? Oh, jQuery is still there? But that shouldn't give me the error that I'm getting now. All right, let us save and see what it says now. It says users, Thomas, desktop, COMP397, F, da, 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 part, scripts, typings, create library. I do have that though, right? Yeah, look. Here? No. No. It's under scripts, typings. Scripts, typings. So we have to go one up and then two down because we're in scripts, right? And I'm looking at the game.ts file, so it goes one up, so we're at the same level as the core libraries, and then two down. Well, the way to test that, of course, was just to do my own, right? So let's just try this out. There it is. Love Visual Studio Code. All right. So anyway, so that's how it should be. So these references then is a good start. So the way to test this, of course, is to start typing to test the references. So I'm going to say var, and if I say canvas, then is of type HTML5 element. Right, that's what it is. Right, we know TypeScript is working. You see, and then I'm going to go var stage, right, is equal to create.js.stage. That's what it is. So I'm kind of typing out what these elements are. A stage is, it's a create.js stage. That's what I'm making. So I'm creating these elements out here like this, right? I want to make my a function called init. So I'm going to say function init, right? And my initialization function that I'm going to start off with is going to define my stage and my canvas. Now, before I do that, So get you guys on the same page. I'm going to update my GitHub, right? So you guys are on the same page with me. Let's try this out. So I'm going to go make sure we're in the same place. Git add dot git commit -m. We're going to say updated COMP397 demo. Just for that. And then git push origin master. That should push everything up. All right, let's take a look and see if you've got everything up on GitHub. That would be very bad if you didn't. Fresh. And under scripts, you should have typings. There it is, right? And we're good to go. See? Huh? What do you think of that? So we can share everything together, play nice. So we've got, so if you wanted to try it now, you would actually see, you can go ahead and do what I'm doing, right? Now the great thing is now that we've got to this point, I'm going to start building out my stage. The first thing you need to do with TypeScript and this kind of stuff, this TypeScript library is, or with Create.js is actually define your stage. So that's the first thing. Now we've got our stage defined as a global object. This is what it is right here. And again, I wish I could increase the size of my font somehow easily. And just to save time, can I get one of you gentlemen or lady to look up how do I change my font size in my editor in Visual Studio Code? So that way you guys can see this stuff better. And then I'll go and make that change. It's good learnings for everybody, right? And I will do that. What does it tell you to do?
Tells us to change that, change font size, but the default font size is 1215. If I go higher than that.
Okay, so tell me where we are. We're going to go code preferences. Is that where we're going to go? And user settings, or color? Yeah, user settings, right? Or is it workspace settings?
User settings.
Okay, user settings. Now I've got this up. Where do I make the change? Here?
Editor.font size 0.
Over here? Oh, I see what it is. So editor.font size. I changed that here. So I say, now do I put it actually in here as in brackets? Like do I go one of these? Editor font size. I think I do. Wow, it is exactly TypeScript. That's so funny. And I can make this, instead of 0, we're going to make it bigger. Like 14. Can't be that easy.
Oh, font can be blank.
Oh, and it is blank right now, right? So let's go back. So that we start off with that. Then we'll just use the same thing. So we'll say editor font family and console us. Let's say let's make something big and not ugly. Okay, and that'll be it. Okay, and let's see if that made a change to everything. Actually, that changed something right now. Let's go back to 16. 16 and save. Yay, that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's all it takes. I love it. No, I'm sorry. I love it. I'm telling you right now. That's how easy it is to change my fonts. Guys, we're into Visual Studio Code. All right, I'm good like that. Okay, let's get this. I get excited for simple things. You know, I'm a simple guy like that. All right, so now that we've got, you guys can see this a little better. I'm hoping that's why I made this big because it was too small for me to kind of demonstrate with. Okay, so we're into my function. I need to add my stage and my canvas in. So the first thing I need to do is say stage then is equal to a new create.js.stage object, right? And I got to pass in there. If you notice, it gives me some code hinting here, right? Where it says pass in a canvas, some kind of canvas, a reference to a canvas. Well, I have a reference to a canvas right here, but unfortunately, I haven't really named what this thing is. I just said it's a canvas element. That's all I have to do. So somewhere up in line, I've got to be able to define a reference to my canvas element. And how do I do that? Well, I do this. I say canvas then, before I do that, is equal to document get element by ID, right? And point to canvas. That makes me, it's a reference to the canvas element. That's all it does. It says, so my canvas that I've defined, my variable, is just a reference as a link, or I've bound my canvas, the actual canvas element on my page, this one, right here. I've bound this element, and it's as a container, right, in my document right here. So if I go back to my game.ts, that's what I've done. Okay, now I'm going to use this same canvas element and pass it as a parameter for my stage. So my stage then is going to use my canvas container as the place where I do all my stuff. And there it is. So these two lines are what you need. Next, I need to define my stages, my frame rate somehow. Okay. So the one thing you need to do is you need to say create.js. There's a ticker function that we need to define. So ticker, right? Dot set FPS 60 frames per second. Okay. So what this does, and let's do some annotations here. I'll say set the frame rate to 60 FPS, 60 frames per second. Right. That's what this is. And this one is, you know, associate the canvas element with the stage. That's what this thing does. And this makes a reference to the canvas element. So all I'm doing is I'm binding the canvas element to this variable canvas. I'm associating the canvas element with the stage. I'm setting the frame rate 60 frames per second. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just setting up. The next piece is I've got to use the ticker to create an event listener. Remember, JavaScript is event driven, right? So what I'm doing is I'm going to listen for every tick, every frame. And every time there's a tick, a frame, I'm going to update the stage. I want to clear the canvas and redraw it every frame over and over again. And every time I do that, it's going to produce that that animation effect. So it's going to, we have a persistence of vision as human beings, right? Anything more than about 30 frames per second, it looks like it's an animation, right? If it's lower, as it goes lower, if you look at that old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, like Fred Flintstone and stuff, you see like a little bit of shaking. It's because the frame rate's so bloody low. It's like 12 frames per second or something like that, right? Because they want to save money. They don't want to do so many in-betweens. The artists, they don't want to draw so many frames, right? So they cut the frame rate down. But the standard frame rate for most movies is between 24 and 30 frames per second. If you have anything less than that, your persistence of vision will pick up the jittering or some kind of weird thing, right? So we want to go higher for games, for fast games, 60 frames per second is where we want to target so when we have a lot of objects moving in, they all look smooth. Okay, so in that particular case, I need an event handler. I need to create an event listener and an event handler. The listener is like me saying, hey, I'm listening for this event, because JavaScript is an event-driven language, just like we did with, for people who took, we did Node.js. Node.js, on the server side, is an event-driven language. It's an event-driven scenario where the server is constantly listening for requests and responses, or requests and giving responses, right? Same idea here. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to say create.js.ticker. Now there's two ways to do an event listener in JavaScript. The old way is add event listener, which is exactly like ActionScript, right? The new way is .on. So .on is on this event, on a tick event then. And these are, this tick event is actually, the tick is actually a predefined event that's been named, right? The tick event. On tick event, then what do I want to do? I want to go to my game loop. I want to call my game loop, right? And I want to pass in a reference to this, which is the object that I'm in right now. Okay, I don't have a game loop function right now, so I got to build that out, right? So how do I do that? Well, I got to make another function down here. So this is my game loop. I'm going to say game loop, right? And my game loop actually is going to have, it's going to be an event, right? So what kind of event is it going to be? It's going to be of type create.js .event. And that's what it's going to be. By the way, all objects and like all functions have a return value, right? In most languages, right? Well, my return value for my function in it is void, right? So we put that in. Again, see how I'm typing? I'm creating types for my JavaScript here as opposed to straight JavaScript, because a straight JavaScript function, and we're going to go over a JavaScript primer next week, right? I'm going to explain JavaScript from the get-go if you've never seen it before. But that's why we're doing this video, so you can always go back and say, how did you build that out? Here's what he did, right? But this JavaScript function here, we don't have voids. We don't have return values for functions. There is no typing for function, for anything in JavaScript. But here I'm using a return value of void, which means I'm not returning anything. Okay, So my game loop then is going to be a stage. Going to do a stage.update. So every frame, I'm going to update the stage. I'm going to keep refreshing the stage over and over again, redrawing it, redrawing it, redrawing it to create that animation effect eventually. Okay, cool. So that's one piece. I'm almost there with everything I need, believe it or not, just with these lines of code, right? So I've got my init function. I've got my game loop. Okay, one thing I am missing though, for sure, where we want to work hard. If I want to go back to my index.html here, is I need an event to drive a link to my init function, and I do that in the body tag. So in the body tag, then I go like this: on load. Right, here's on load, I want to access my init function. So when my body loads, when my body finishes loading, then I'm going to call my init function that exists in my game.js file. That's what I'm doing. That's the event that's going to happen. So I'm waiting for my body to load the body of my index.html file, and then I'm going to call this function here that exists here. Right, this function here is going to be called. So when this is called, right, then it's going to fire this game loop, right, which is going to update the stage every frame. Okay, that's not doing anything for us yet. We need another function that actually does something, right, which we're going to call main. All right, so we're going to call the main function afterwards, right? So after we've got we've set up our event handler and an event listener for our game loop. Well, now we're going to do something in main. But in order for us to do that, we should set up a few variables we can deal with. So these are like we're going to call these global game framework variables for now. That's what these are, right? But we also need some other game variables as well. Like, for example, if I want to make a label, I want to make that hello world label, right? I need a label that's kind of on the global scope for now, right? We can change the scope later on and encapsulate everything in a self-executing closure. But for now, let's just keep it simple, right? So we're just going to say these are game variables. And inside that, we need two things. We need to declare a variable with var, the var keyword. That's the main keyword we need to use. And I'm going to call this thing a hello label. So my hello label, I'm going to make a reference to my hello label, and I'm going to call it a create.js type text. That's what it's going to be. That's the type it's going to be. I haven't defined my label yet. I haven't instantiated it yet. All I've done is created a reference to it. I've created the shape for my object, but I haven't yet instantiated my object. We do that. We don't just do that here. We do that in C#. We do that in Java. We can create the shape for our object, a reference to the class, without actually instantiating anything yet. Let's do the next piece. So we need a label and we need a button. For now, let's make it a label. Let's make it easy. But we need the function. So here's our function. Oops. Our function main, which is not going to return anything again. So it's going to be of type void. All right, so it's not returning anything. And what are we going to do? Well, I've got a definition for my hello label. Now I've actually got to instantiate it. So I'm going to say hello label then. Now watch how Visual Studio finds it. Hello label, right, is equal to a new create.js text, right? And now it listens for a couple things. Look at the code hinting that I'm getting. It needs a string, a font, and a color. That's what I need, right? It tells you what it needs right there for my label, right? So let's check this out. So my string is going to be hello world, right? My font then is going to be console us. And but I also need to define a size. So let's make it 40 pixels. Right? And the color is going to be a hexadecimal value. I can make it other values as well. But let's call it, so it's FF00, like a yellow. Okay, one of those. So that's my first thing. So I've defined this object called hello label, which is, it has all these properties, a string, font, and a color, right? That's all it does. Okay, now I need to position it. By default, all objects on a 2D platform, 90% of the time, normally in our Cartesian geometry, when we do it in math in school, the 0 point is the bottom left corner of the screen, yeah? Or the bottom left corner of the screen. But here, it's not so. It's the top left corner of the screen. So because the top left corner, you guys know this already, top left corner of the screen, we have to account for, if I want to draw to the right, it's positive X, right? If I want to draw down, which is counterintuitive, it's positive Y. If I want to go up the screen, it's negative Y. So keep that in mind when we do our planning. Okay. So let's go to hello label. Hello label, right? We want to say the X value then of the hello label. Because we have a screen that's 640 pixels, I want to go to 320 pixels. So let's go. My X value is 320. That's the middle. I'll give you a problem here. I'm going to show you the problem in a second, right? And let's go to the next piece. My hello label dot y is equal to 240. You got it, right? Now,
this is it's gonna reference the label from the upper left corner, so it's actually not gonna be in the middle.
Correct. We're going to fix that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. So from here, let's add the label now to the stage. So we're going to say stage.addChild. That's how beautiful it is, right? And we're going to say what? Hello label. So now we've added it to the stage. We've actually connected it as a child to the stage. It's actually a bitmap that sits on top of the stage. Every time we add another bitmap, it layers on top of the last one. It's in order. In fact, what we're building is something called a display list. A list of items, almost like an array, of different display items that are going to be linked or layered one on top of the other. So the order that I put them in here is the order that they're going to be displayed. If I want something that sits on top of my hello label, I'm going to add it next. If I want my hello label to be added on top of something else, I should add that other thing first. Okay, if that makes any sense. Okay, so let's see what we get here. And by the way, let's do a console command, a little console.log. That's probably important too. That says, hey, you know, we made it to the game. Okay, because otherwise I can't test if it's even gotten there yet, right? All right, so I'm going to save. Now, typically when we save, it transpiles. That's what it's supposed to do. Transpiles into, or transcompiles, if you will, into JavaScript. Okay, that's what it should do. All right, so I'm going to just say, I'm going to save all. Right, that's important to do. And what it should do, if you give it a second, right, it should transcompile this thing here, this game.ts file, into a game.js file. How do I check that? So before I do any kind of linking, right, I should check it so that, and I go into my core module, I should have two files, my game.ts file and my game.js file. I do not. So what am I going to get when I run this thing? Because it's not transcompiling. Nothing. I should get an error saying, don't understand what the hell you're talking about. That's what it should do. Because I don't have a game.js file. There is no game.js file at all, right? So, and again, this is, we can get rid of this for a second. So normally what we do in TypeScript, right, and on the Visual Studio side, is it's an automatic thing. I save my file, it transpiles, right? This particular case, right, as an example, might be an extra step that we have to do, right? And I know I've done it before in the past where I just saved the item and it's done, right? Now the thing to check to see that it works all together, and again, one thing to check is this. One, we selected a language which is detecting that it's TypeScript, which is good. Master means that it's actually detected that I'm using a take a look at this. It's detecting my GitHub that I've got two things that I've changed, right? That it's going to push back onto GitHub. So this is a good thing for this thing. It's actually giving me a little bit of a view here, and I wonder if I can. I'm pretty sure I could probably change the size of this little scroll bar. But one thing it's not doing for me is the most important piece. It's not transcompiling into TypeScript or into JavaScript. So how do I do that? So I'm going to ask you again. Take a look online. How do I transcompile into JavaScript or into JavaScript from TypeScript with Visual Studio Code? Is it just a save, or is there another function? If not, by the way, I can do it all by command line. Want me to show you? Watch. Let's do it by hand. Here's how you do it by hand. If I'm going to go into command line, and if I'm going to go into my scripts, I'm going to go into my core. That's why I kind of separate that, and I want to do a listing. I can do this. I can say TypeScript. If I go TypeScript, my TypeScript command is not found, TSC. That's bad, and that's probably what's causing my issue, because I don't have TypeScript built into my my editor, right? And I bet you if I did it on the PC, huh? What happened? Take forever?
The website where the answer is has a crap server.
No. Okay, so let's find it. I'll find it for you. Here we go.
What? So
install TypeScript wonder if I can do it on the Mac. If I go to typescriptlang.org, and I'll just do it like that, typescriptlang.org, and I bet you get TypeScript now, and I got to do it through npm -g TypeScript. Beautiful. Okay, so that's how I'll do it. So I'll do it like this. I'll say npm install -g. That's probably why it's not working. TypeScript. No, on the Mac. Sorry, guys. And I'll wait for that to finish. By the way, I fixed that up. Remember we had that sudo problem when we were doing it on Node? When I would do things on the Mac, I'd have to put sudo, blah, blah, blah. I found out a way to do it through Homebrew if you're using a Mac where I don't have to use elevated permissions. Okay, cool. I think I'm done. Hold on a second. Let me check this out. Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. So now it's working. And now let's see, what does it say to do?
Go to file settings.
File.
Or you can, in the itself, or go to shortcut Control-Alt-S.
Control Option S, you mean?
Yes, all here, but
Yeah.
I'm guessing in Mac it's that.
Yeah. And that's going to transcompile?
No, that'll open up the settings where you can say TypeScript as the compiler.
Oh, sorry. Preferences. User settings, or is it going to be workspace settings?
See, this is why I said you're using Mac.
Well, you know what, man? Like I told you before, you got to be platform independent. If it can be done on the PC, it can be done on the Mac. I'm going to do it by hand in a second because I'm getting tired of this thing. But typically, what it does is this, and I will find out for you, right? But I'm pretty sure if I go to user settings, that it's probably going to be in here under compiler. No. No, because I'm searching the wrong area. Let's try there. This TypeScript suggests use code snippet method suggests false. TypeScript TSDK. This has the folder path containing the TypeScript server and the lib.d.ts files to use. Oh, that's crazy. I could have totally set that up so the d.ts files I could have set up as just as a folder instead of all those references. That sucks. And there's JS hint I can turn on as well. I believe there's another way of doing it. My guess is that I'm gonna just refire up Visual Studio Code for a second. Okay, just bear with me. I'm gonna close it down. I'm gonna refire it up because I've installed TypeScript now on my local system. That might make a difference right there. All right, and I'll kill this, and I'll go here, and I'll go save. And I believe if I go save all, that might work. And if it doesn't, that's okay because I'm going to do it by hand because I'm tired. I'm a tired guy. So I'm going to say the way you do it by hand is you say tsc, right? Game.ts, and then what it does is it goes through the file, and if there's any problems, right? And which we did find a problem. Why did it find a problem with, oh, cannot find the name promise? Did I have that as a typing? What the hell? Look, it has my game.js on it. Do we have a promise somewhere? Does this say cannot find? Don't tell me you can't find something. Oh yeah, it says cannot find the name promise, but that's why I need it in my WA file, in my media stream file. So I need the promise file. So where I thought I didn't need it, I actually did need it. Let's go back. I did need it. Here, this one, ES6 promise. Copy that one. Go back across. Huh? Oh, Visual Studio Code?
Yeah.
I love it. So it is really good, but it's just a matter of me figuring it all out. So bear with me while I do that. It's not its fault. It's my fault. So there's ES promise. Where's this? I need to add that in as a typing. So I'm going to go back into Visual Studio, and I'm going to grab a reference to that, so I don't have to type that all in and fix the problem, which is underneath easel.js. So copy this. I'm going to say copy, go across, go over here, under easel.js. And paste, save. Let's try this out again. And let us do the same thing by copying across. Good. So now, when I've done that, I've got my completed JS file, right? Now let's take a look at what it looks like. So here's my JS file, right? And what it does, it strips out, this is the actual JavaScript file. It stripped out all references to my typing, because there is no typing in JavaScript. If this is what this is JavaScript right here, right? This is regular JavaScript. And all that TypeScript does is it takes it and reformats it into pure JavaScript for us. But it makes it so for us, it gives us typing, it gives us code hinting, and it gives us tooling. So in other words, we can figure out what's going on, right? That's the advantage of TypeScript. Okay, we're almost ready. All right, let's go back and check it out on the command on the line. I'm just going to double click here on my index.html, and we should have hello world. Yeah. Control Shift V, E. Let's try it out. I got it. Well, those don't have to get installed. You can install it. You can go npm install, npm minus g, npm install minus g TypeScript. We'll fix it. All right, later on, not today, but we'll fix it. Don't push me anymore. All right, you've got me enough. First we talk magic, then we talk 40K, and now I'm talking about stuff. Forget it. I want to finish this thing off. You're killing me, right? I could have done twice as much work here, if it wasn't for you. No, I'm joking. Let me go back in. So we've got TSC installed. So you're saying, what is it again? Control Shift B. Okay, let's check this out. So I'll say Control Shift B, and if that's the case, then it should be instantaneously upgrade. Let's check that out. Let's add something else to see that. First of all, you know what? 40 pixel console and it's yellow. That's not a good choice. Let's make it black, just so we can see everything. So 0, 0, 0, 0. I'm going to save everything, and I'm going to go Control Shift B, right, for build. That's true. If that worked out, then we should be able to see the difference in our game.js file, right? So it should actually show 0, 0, 0, and it does not. So I'm not sure if there's something I'm missing on my end, on the Mac side. I will figure it out because it's something simple. Check the Mac side if there's Visual Studio Code does something differently. So I have TSC installed, right? But for now, let's do it by command line, which is totally fine for me. It's just another step. So let's go up here, TSC game, and done. Okay, let's check this out. I'm going to go back to here and check my JavaScript file, and that should be 0, 0, 0, which it is. Right? So it's transcompiled now, or recompiled into pure JavaScript. And now let's go back in here and refresh. Now you said exactly what was going to happen. It is in the middle, but all objects, this is the next lesson for us, all objects in GreatJS are the registration mark, or the focal point is the top left corner of the object. So that means up here, because remember, even though this looks like text, it's actually rendered. It's not really text. It's a raster image, right? It's pixels. It's all it is. You can't select it, right? You can't do anything with it. It's not text or type that we normally see in a web page. It's just pixels. Our canvas is a pixel canvas. It's almost like a dry erase board, and we've got to control what's on there. If we don't control it, it's not going to do it. The computer's dumb. It's going to do only exactly what we tell it to do, right? All right, so now we need to change the registration mark, and there is a command for that. Let's go back. So we'll go back to Visual Studio Code, and correct. And this is what we can do. We're going to say hello label then, regex, right? Now, if I don't find the command, right, so I'm going to say reg, and follow me here when we do this. Regex. Am I doing it in the wrong file? I am. We don't touch the JS file ever. We always touch the TS file, which this gives us all. This is why I'm saying all the typing comes from our TS file, right? And let me just kill this so we never see that again. Yeah, here's our TS file, and now we're going to hello label dot. See this regex? Look how we get that typing, right? It is registration. Regex is going to be, and again, we can look at the size of the labels. We'll say hello label then dot get bounds dot width, right, times 0.5. And by the way, whenever we kind of, instead of dividing as a rule, I'm going to actually get this as a rule. Please do not try not to divide at all whenever we do anything with game. Because what happens is, because we're doing everything every frame, division is slightly heavier in terms of CPU utilization than multiplication. Let's just multiply by 0.5. It's the same thing as dividing by 2, right? It's just an easier way of doing things. Okay, so that's one thing. Let's do the same thing with our res y, right, is equal to hello label then dot get bounds dot height times 0.5. So I'm saying my height and my width, I'm kind of dividing it by 2, and I'm getting a new registration mark, right? So my focal point then is different. Let's just update my recompile. Done, right? And now that I'm recompiled, I'm ready to go. I just have to refresh, and that should move that right from there. Right. So again, a few steps with Visual Studio Code, but it's available cross-platform. I'm doing it on the Mac, right? A year ago, it was impossible. It couldn't be done. You couldn't do it on Linux. You couldn't do it on Mac. And in Windows, you have to use Visual Studio. Now you don't have to, which is really cool. It means we have a lot of flexibility here from a game building perspective. And if you're an open source kind of guy, or someone who likes using something, or girl, and something you want to kind of work in a slim way, this is the new way of doing it. That's why I love Visual Studio Code. It's just we have to figure out the tweaks. Right? How do I make it work? And I'll make it work on the Windows side as well. Just a challenge. Yep. Right? Any questions around this? This is cool, but now I want to make this thing spin. How am I going to make this thing spin? I want to make it rotate. Rotate is the new method, right? I want to rotate this. Where would I make the rotation function happen? My game loop, because my game loop is listening for something. Now, because my hello label is a global label, it's going to be available in my game loop. If I made it local, it wouldn't be available in my game loop. I couldn't access it. It's a local variable. So let's go back into my game loop and do that before we depart for the day. All right, so here in my game loop, I'm going to say this. Every tick, now that my hello label is created, I want to rotate it by 5 degrees. That's it, right? Let's try this out. So I'm going to say, before I update my stage, I'm going to say hello label then dot rotation, right, plus equals to 5. Start at 0. Let's see what that does. If that's all it takes, every frame. So it's 5 degrees of frame. So it's going to go really fast. Let's see if that's right. Well, no, it didn't do it because I didn't compile it. Right? So let's do that first. Sorry, it's an extra step, and then from there, refresh. Right, so there we go. That's easy. Now there's a bit of an issue. Don't you see the issue? Is it really in the middle? I think it's okay, actually. No, it's fine. Okay. But you see, it's not jittery. It's pretty good. I'm running it native on the Mac, and it is running around. It is pivoting around the center with the Create.js library. Yeah. Okay. You could do that too, but you might as well use the game loop, right? Game loop's there. You can make your own thread. You can do all the regular stuff with JavaScript, but why bother if you're using Create.js, right? You could also do this with Tween.js. Tween.js will also allow you to do the same thing, but a lot of times we do it like this. And we do the same thing. If you're a gaming student, you'll know this. We do the exact same kind of game loop, where we do it in, if I use Unity, I use a game loop in Unity as well, right? Doesn't matter. Game loop is a game loop, guys. It's an event loop, if you will, right? We do the exact same thing with Node.js. We listen, we have an event loop, and we have a request response. There's a request response going on here. It says, hey, every frame, rotate 5 degrees, right? If I want to move this thing to the right and rotate 5 degrees, what do? I want to move this to the right. I want to move my label off screen. It's going to fly away. How do I change my position? What you saw my code. Let's take a look at the code. It's very, very intuitive. What do? I'm there, man. I'll tell you what. You tell me what dot. What is it? No, there's no position. Dot x, right? Plus equals to, not equals plus equals to, let's say 2. It's pretty fast, right? With 2 pixels, that's each pixel, right? So you have to watch it. There's not that many pixels on my screen, right? Okay, let's check this out. So now I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to recompile everything. If there's no error, it's not going to give us an error. It's going to go back up here and refresh, right? And then that's it. See? Okay. Yeah, so now it's going to go fly away. And that's how simple it is, right?
This thing, it doesn't obviously auto.
No, so it'll go forever. So what's the problem with going on forever? It's going to crash my system. Why? It's going to have a memory leak. Why? Because the focal point of the label is going to keep going to infinity. So if I leave it long enough, it's going to keep on keeping the position off screen, remember we have our viewport. Our viewport is here, 640 by 480. And meanwhile, off screen, this thing is continuing to fly, right? No. No. It's going to keep going forever. And you know what's going to do? It's going to crash my system. Eventually. It's going to take a while. Right? But it doesn't matter. It's going to eventually do it. So this is where, if I want it to come from the other side, what do I want it to do? I want to detect, right? Well, there's no border. I want to detect where my thing is. When it goes greater, when the focal point, or where my X is greater than 640, I want it to reset somewhere on the other side of the screen, right? Make sense? Let's try that out. So now how do I do that, and where do I put that? All right, so here's my, well, not that one. Here's my, I'm increasing this, right? But I'm going to say this, if then, here's my if statement, and then you guys have this if statements before, right? If X is greater than, hello label.x, sorry, thank you. Hello label.x is greater than, or greater than or equal to 640, right? 640 plus half the size of the width, right? Because you want it to be fully off screen before it resets, right? So it'll be a weird thing. It'll go, whoop, it'll go away. So whatever the measured, the get bounds width is, right? So I'll say something like is equal to greater than 640, right? Plus the width of the label. Get bounds dot width times 0.5. You're right. And we'll put that in brackets to kind of, from order of operations perspective, we want to do that, right? Because otherwise it'll be weird, right? If that's true, oops. And what do we want to do? We want it to reset. We want to change the X value so that it's off screen half the width. Yeah, so it's greater than 640 plus half the width. This is going to happen first, right? And then this is going to go on, and then I'm going to check this value. If it's greater than this whole value, then I'm good. Right now, I got to make sure that I've got an error here, so I got to make sure I get enough brackets, and I don't. I need one more bracket. So now what I need to do is I got to check. So if it's greater, then what I need to do is I need to reset back to before the 0. So I'm going to say then hello label.x, right, is equal to a negative hello label.getBounds. I'll just make it dot width, because who cares? So it's going to stay a little bit off the screen a little bit more, right? Actually, we'll make it times 0.5. Let's make it accurate. There we go. The negative value. When I'm saying negative, I just take whatever the positive value and invert it, right? So now it's going to be the width, half the width with the negative width. So in other words, if the width of hello label, I'm just going to come up with it is 40 pixels, right? The whole width. Half the width is 20 pixels. So then it's going to say 640 plus 20. So it's greater than 660 pixels. It's going to go off screen. It's listening for if it's that, then it'll make the width negative 20, right? Off screen, and then it'll come back in again. So it'll keep doing this. It'll keep resetting over and over again, forever. Let's try this out. If there's an error, we'll get it. So I'll save it. We'll go here, recompile it. No problems. Go back in here into the actual thing and just rerun it. So let's see if this works. So I fly off screen, it's left the screen, and then it comes back in. Right? Keep doing that forever. So it detects, we create our edge, we create our border check, right? Now we've done it in the game loop, which is a really poor place to do it, right? But I'm showing you this is the place. We do things on update. Every frame, if I'm going to do a check, I want to check every frame, right? So I want you to keep that in mind when we build up our application. Make sense? Let me share this thing with you on GitHub so you see what I've done, so you can always follow along. So how do I do that again? I'm going to go git add dot git commit -m, and I'll say this time we added everything else, right? We added the thing, I'll say added TSC to system. So that's really what made it work. All right, and then git push origin master, right? Okay, so you guys have it now. So you should have it on GitHub if you want to check it out. So this is a great preview for us, I think, of what's to come, right? What we're going to be doing every week we get together is we're going to do some small little thing like this. Now today, I was pushed to do things on Visual Studio Code, which is great. I think it's good learnings for everybody, right? But remember that there's already a GitHub link online for how to do this stuff. Now, the next week, what we're going to do is we're going to do it so that we add in a preloader, and I'm also going to talk at length about JavaScript, because you guys haven't really talked JavaScript, and I'm already going from 0 to hero. We're already running, and we haven't learned how to walk yet, right? So because it's an intro, this is an intro class, right? So I want to try and get you guys to understand what we're doing, right? But the great thing is there's going to be a bunch of projects. The first one we're going to build is you're going to use another API, not GreatJS, and this is the only time we're going to stray from the first API, and you're going to create a little choose your own adventure game, right? With slides, okay? You're going to slide through, and it's going to have your own little choose your own adventure game, and then that's the first one. The second one we're going to build is a slot machine. Okay, you can actually build an actual working slot machine that's HTML5 compliant with sounds and everything else, right? And I've got some really good examples of the slot machine code to show you. And I will show you this before we go for the day. So let me just close my solution down. And I'm going to open up my slot machine solution. Sorry about that. I want to make sure I get the right thing here. There's my slot machine. That's my demo. And what I also try and do is I try and build it out for you. Okay, so I don't just give you an assignment. I try and build it with you as you go, right? Because then it gives you an idea of how to do it. Sometimes it's the thinking that we have to get around. Once we get around the thinking, right, like we just did just now, right? Figured out, we have to go to the bounds. Once we get to that point, the other stuff is easy. It's just outthinking what we have to do. All right, so here's what my slot machine eventually will look like. This is the final product. This is version 4, something like that, right? So it's big. It's also responsive. All right, so I got my stuff here. I bet, and then I spin. Right, slot machine, right? So we do that, and then we also do. That's one of the things we're going to build, right? It looks easy, but there's a lot of little components there. You can imagine what we do to build that up, right? The other one, after we do the slot machine, just to give you a little bit of a preview, again, is we do mail pilot, and I give you version 11. So this is version 11 to start with. You get code. I never start you off with 0, right? Because there's no time in this book. Start you off with 0, honestly. So here's version 11 of what you get when we start mail pilot, and you'll have to do a side scroller of your own. You're going to take this and turn it on the side. That's like assignment 3, okay? So let's take a look at this and see what we do, all right? I'm going to run this thing from scratch here. All right, here's my game, right? Here's my play game, and I've got my islands, right?
Yay.
Right?
Yay.
Right?
Yay. Yay.
Mail pilot. So if you take it further, let's take it one step further. I took it further. I was trying to take it further for you guys. Hey, I'm the professor, right? I'm supposed to be like, magic guy, 40K guy, teaching you guys how to. I can do it all, right? So I gotta try and impress you guys. I'm hoping I impress you today with bloody Visual Studio Code on Mac, right? Let's try this out, right? So let's go to GitHub, and let's go to version 16 is where I took it to. So I took it a few extra versions ahead, right when I created this thing. And now it's going to be slightly different, and I've used TypeScript with modules. I've modularized everything and broken up the code into different piece parts to create a much more efficient code, right? And hold on. There's Mail Pilot, right? So Mail Pilot, I took a 3-dimensional image of the plane, and I've created my scene in Blender again. I use Blender to make it really quick. This is just an animation, right? All this is doing is exactly what we just did with the thing. I'm rotating this whole thing. This is transparent. It's a transparent ping image that's rotating across. That's what I'm doing. It's all tricks. Everything we do with gaming is smoke and mirrors, guys. All right? Truly, it is. It's just tricks, right? And that's what I'm trying. It looks like this thing is happening, but all it's doing is we've got this is transparent images creating this effect, right? That's all I'm doing. I start the game. A little bit of instructions, going back to the screen, play the game, right? And then now we have a few more different things. Come on, man. This is silly, right? Hold on, let me get to 1,000, right? Hold on. And a little bit of lightning bolt, okay? But that's what I'm saying. We start off with something, and we get to the next level. Now, you guys have to do a side scroller. I did a top scroller because of my game. Right? If I did a side scroller, it'd be too much. Level 2. Okay, now I can start firing. Yeah, but I've got to wait for the, right? That's right. And I got explosions happening. I know it's bad, but. Mm-hmm. Come on, I can't do, I know I could do that, but it's slowing down because I'm playing it on, with my virtual machine, running at the same time as I'm recording, right? Yeah. Anyways, let's die for a second here. Now the reason why it says not a number, is because I use a high score with PHP, and it's supposed to give me a number. It's going to save the score. Now we can use Mongo to save the high scores. MongoDB is some other flat database, no SQL database, to store everything so that we get a high score. But again, this is where you take it to. I always try and take it to the next level. So if you want to take it further, you do one of these, right? And then finally, you do your final project, which I've already shown you. That was my Starbase 12. This semester, what I want to try and do, if I have time, I want to make a platform, right? So I want to try and do like a, kind of a Mario clone, like a platform, but by the end, if I have time, all right? If I have a lot of stuff to do with these other guys, with the game stuff, I don't know if I can do it. Maybe what I'll do is take some of the assets that I'll build with you guys, and I'll use it in here, right? So I'll make it. Any questions around this stuff? I know some of it looks really ambitious. Like you look at it and go, wow, that's a lot of stuff to do, and we're going to make these crazy games. But here's what you're going to learn, right? To finish off, to sell it to you, to stay in the course, because it's going to be great, right? It's going to be tough. All right, I'll tell you right now. It'll push you because you're going to learn stuff you've never done before. You're going to be using pure TypeScript and JavaScript. So there is no CSS, there is no real HTML. It's all around JavaScript. So you're coding. But you're going to make a rock solid, I would say, enterprise level app. If you think about it, you can make any app with TypeScript. You can apply the concept that we're going to learn here for this game to code on anything else, right? Once you learn TypeScript, you can apply it to Angular, Node, make your own applications. You can include your own little canvases in your web design, right? To make it look really cool, like things on the screen, special effects, and all that kind of stuff. You can take it to the next level, and it doesn't have to be games, right? This is just a vehicle for learning, all right? I want you to think outside the box and stuff that you could do with Canvas and TypeScript, or even without Canvas altogether, all right? Any questions on this stuff? I think I've killed it today, like in terms of, I'm tired, man. It's tired me out already. But next week we'll try and do, if you really want me to focus on Visual Studio Code and not Visual Studio, I'll do it. I highly recommend, though, we move into Visual Studio environment, only because my production time from a rapid application development, I can do it like this. That's how fast it is in Visual Studio. Bring your damn laptop, and then we won't have to do this. But if you really want to, if you're someone who doesn't want Visual Studio, if you hate Visual Studio Code is a good alternative. Okay, and that's it for me, guys. Phew. Tired now.